Welcome back to Forum Daily. I'm Wyatt Sharpe, and this is your U.S. election tracker update. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden have now clinched their respective parties' nominations. But for Donald Trump, a new problem has arisen. How will he manage to attract Nikki Haley supporters? Nikki Haley, of course, the former governor of South Carolina who dropped out of the race, and moderates to his campaign. Well, joining me now is someone who would identify as a center-right conservative, but also a former candidate in this race, the former governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson. Governor, thanks so much for joining us here on Forum Daily.
Well, thank you, Wyatt. It's good to be with you today.
So perhaps let's just start out with, in your opinion, what should Donald Trump be focused on as we head into the general election in order to attract those who didn't support him in his bid for his campaign, perhaps Nikki Haley supporters or even those who supported yourself?
Well, it's all about reaching out to independents and suburban voters, particularly in those swing states. And so that is about active campaigning. It's about your messaging and whether you're simply trying to appeal to the hardcore base of the Republican Party or expand that messaging. And so far, we haven't seen a whole lot of that from Donald Trump, but we'll see as time goes on. You know, the second part of it is the Nikki Haley supporters. It's the supporters of those within the Republican Party that said we need a different alternative than Donald Trump. And that's going to be a problem for him because most of those voters just simply do not believe he is mentally stable enough that he is right for the presidency. And so that is more a matter of confidence. It's a matter of moving away from crazy and getting back to normal, and that's not his style. So I think he's going to have a hard time bringing in some of those Nikki Haley supporters.
And you mentioned Nikki Haley, of course. She notably did not endorse Donald Trump after suspending her campaign. Do you think that she eventually will endorse Donald Trump like, people such as Vivek Ramaswamy, for example, did after he dropped out?
I do believe she will if Donald Trump plays it right. And to me, she has an important voice in the Republican Party, and she needs to be given a primetime slot at the national convention in July to make her case, to speak to the American people. And I think if Donald Trump gives her that kind of access, then I think she will be supportive of him as the nominee. In fact, she did pledge that before, even though she has pulled back from that RNC pledge that she'd support the nominee. I think that is doable if Donald Trump reaches out to her.
And I'm curious because you mentioned that RNC pledge. You were one of the few people at the first Republican debate in Milwaukee who did not raise your hand. It was you and Chris Christie when asked whether or not you would support Donald Trump. What was it like, though, being a candidate in this race, being practically one of the only people to actually speak out against Donald Trump? And obviously, what does it say that your campaign didn't attract as much attention as people were anticipating it to?
Well, it shows the strength of Donald Trump's hold on the Republican base. It's entrenched, it is deep, it is almost unmovable. And so that's what I found out. What it was like was it was good in the sense that people appreciated me speaking the truth and giving a counterpoint of view, even though, it wound up being a lot of that support going to Nikki Haley in the end in Iowa. And but whenever she gets 40% in South Carolina, 30% in many of the states, it shows that my voice and others that wanted an alternative did make a difference in the end. But I want to make it clear that I will not be supporting Donald Trump as the nominee of the party if he continues to succeed and come out of the convention with the nomination. I believe he would not be the right direction for our party, and I would be looking for an alternative.
So let me pick up on that point because, of course, you've been critical of Donald Trump, but you're still a Republican, and you've also been quite critical of Joe Biden as well. So who will you turn to come the general election if things remain the same? Donald Trump stays the Republican nominee, Joe Biden stays on the Democratic side.
Well, I am a Republican. I've built the Republican Party in Arkansas. I'm not going to be supporting Joe Biden. So it is a quandary, and there's a lot of people in my position right now, but I want to see the Republican Party come back to its roots, come back to principle, to move away from a Donald Trump dominated, rhetoric driven party.
All right, we'll leave it there. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, thanks so much for joining us on Forum Daily.
Hey, great to be with you. Thank you.
When we return, a look at the latest international headlines. Stay with us.